Whenever you're ready, it's good to go.
Awesome. So thank you for joining the final webinar. I kind of wanted to get like some glitter bombs to put off when I said that, but that means I would have to clean it up, and I'm just not about that.
I'll add it.
So this will be, right? Honestly, like glitter bombs are terrifying. That's one of my biggest fears is trying to clean up after one of those. So today we have a couple of things on slate, talking about MCC 16, recapping MCC 15. I have some user-submitted questions that I'm going to get to, including one of my favorites. In your opinion, what is the cutest marine animal and what is the ugliest marine animal? And I really had to sit down and think about that. So I have those coming at you guys in a bit. But let's start with MCC 16. You guys can tell us a little bit of what we're going to expect, who we're going to see, what we're going to hear. That'd be super great.
Awesome. Okay, so MCC 16 is right around the corner, and we're very excited, especially for the campaigns portion. So MCC 16 will be a little mix of last year and then looking forward to the future and for this year. So it'll start with a recap, including you, Emily, and all the campaigns from last year, basically saying what they've done, their experience, and kind of pumping everyone up for the campaigns to come this year too, because the process will continue. So that will happen, which is really exciting. And then we will have the winners of this year who have not yet been chosen, but we have some really, really awesome candidates that I think we're finalizing today.
That we're really excited about.
Yeah, so we have some ideas up our sleeves, so we'll have to kind of see what happens. But I think that they're going to be awesome.
And where we're going to take the campaigns from here. Because already last year, I mean, it was the guys out of nothing, and you got so far, and it's amazing. And we were trying to sort of use the lessons and just use it to the full MCN potential. And yeah, we're loving this. It's great. Just the interviews of the last couple of days, just to talk with people from all over the world. It's just. Just yesterday, we
I cried during one.
Yeah, we talked to one girl from Zimbabwe, one from Zambia. There was a girl from Zambia. She was amazing. Yeah. We had two guys from Haiti, one dude from Nigeria, from all over the world, really. And you hear their ideas and how they want to impact their communities, and that's just amazing.
Yeah.
What are you each most excited for MCC 16?
In general?
Yeah, in general.
The entire experience, I just want to meet the people.
Yeah, I think meeting the people that I've been emailing for 3 months, I think is really exciting. And then to meet the people who will be the campaign winners, I think will be awesome too, because there are some serious brains that we've been in communication with. So to kind of see that passion in real life, I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah. I think the whole week's going to be really cool. Very excited.
It's going to be so much fun. At the end of the week, you're going to be exhausted and you're going to sleep for 24 hours straight. And then you're going to wake up and want to do it all over again. I know that when I came home from MCC 15 and I slept, and then I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm running late. And I started to run out the door. I was like, no, it's over. It's over. I'm never gonna, I have to go onto Facebook. I went onto Facebook and I found everyone that I had met there, and I was like, we have to stay best friends. I Snapchat people I met at MCC 15, Facebook friends. We're always sharing information. So that was definitely the part that I most look forward to, was meeting the people, especially meeting people that I had spoken to online, and then finally getting to meet them in person. I'm I know their face because I've either Skyped with them or I've spoken to them, but actually hearing them and being I can touch them, touch your face. So that's the best thing in the world. And I'm so excited that it's in DC this year. So excited for that. I love DC, except for the time I lost my cell phone, but that is a story for another day. So, and then I guess my last question is, for anyone who's going to be watching this between now and MCC 16, do you have any words of advice or kind of nuggets of wisdom to take with us to MCC 16?
Let's see. Don't forget that you're wearing professional clothing. that's important. But on a more fun basis, I think get ready to bring your best energy, because there's going to be some awesome people there, some incredible speakers, a lot of like tweeting and like fun times ahead. So I think just bring your most positive energy and you're going to get it back tenfold. So get pumped, pretty much. Any nuggets of wisdom?
Just be open, you know. Not all people are very comfortable in such social surroundings, but just get out of your comfort zone, and just because these opportunities don't come that often to meet that many amazing people from all over the place. So yeah, just get out there, meet some people.
And my piece of advice, and this is a little bit like, you don't have to, but if you don't have a Snapchat, totally make one, because I was Snapchatting my entire MCC 15 experience, and my friends were so jealous, especially when Terry Crews came to speak. I was taking pictures of him, and I got a bit of his speech, and he started to cry because he was talking about like what feminism means to him and like gender equality. And I was filming this, and my friends are like, "Is that Terry Crews crying?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like if I didn't have this on video, I wouldn't believe you." Like it was beautiful, and I was just, all my friends were so jealous. I was like, "Yeah." So if you don't have a Snapchat, make one. It's also really fun because when we were at the UN, they had different filters on Snapchat. So I'm sure DC has a ton of filters. So if you're at the Capitol, if you're at the Smithsonian, you can put the filter on and like save it to your computer. So that makes really cool photos that I printed out photos from MCC 15. I think I'm like the last person ever to like print out photos and hang them on a bulletin board. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit about MCC 16. Cannot wait to meet you guys in person, especially. Finally.
Abby and
We
Matt,
can't wait either.
awesome.
We're so
I'm so glad I have this recording. Like what you were saying about the interviews and your words of wisdom for MCC 16, like all gold. It really is amazing to get to interview these people. Like I'm so glad you're enjoying the process.
yeah, we are. We're loving it.
Yeah.
And I believe that the kind of catchphrase and theme for this year is it starts with empathy.
Yes.
Yes.
So last year it was Sidekicks Unite, and this year it starts with empathy. And I know that there's going to be maybe a video, I don't know if I'm like divulging like secrets, but a video of all different people saying it starts with empathy from all over the world in different languages. So I'm very excited to see that.
Yes.
And I saw someone wrote it on their hand. Like that's commitment.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We started with one just with everyone in the office, and it's funny because, like, we're not actors or, like, should be on camera, but it's really, really cool once everything comes together.
I have to send mine, but I will tell you, mine is from Acadia National Park, and I'm looking over the water, and my mother was filming it on her cell phone, which, like, that was a technological feat in of itself. But everyone stopped me thinking that she and I, like, we wanted a picture of us together. I was like, oh, no, I'm filming something. Oh, and people were, like, looking on, like, what is she filming? Like, doing, and I think, like, there's a little kid doing, like, cartwheels in the background. It's beautiful. It's just, like, trying to focus it on trying to get it so you could hear me because I'm overlooking the water. So there's like seagulls and terns and fishing boats, but it's going to be, I'm so excited to see like where everyone films it. I really want to do like a flash mob thing of it starts with empathy.
Ooh.
Petition to have MCC 17 flash mob. Next year, flash mob. Everyone in the office. It's on a recording, so now you guys have to do it.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. We'll let our people know.
I'll have my people contact your people.
Perfect.
Very cool. Julian, do you want to tell us a bit what happened at MCC 15?
Yeah, sure. So
Give us a nice little recap.
MC 15 was big for campaigns because it was the first time we had ever launched them. It's like a completely new program. And so the reason why MCN decided to start the Global Campaigns programming, they also have the fellowship and conference, but the campaigns program was intended to sustain engagement beyond the conference. And it's also just a really great opportunity to back students who have these campaign ideas with administrative and financial support. MCN also has a lot of partnerships that come into play. So we have sponsors like the Rummer family, which helped make Emily's 10 by 2020 campaign a reality. They're awesome. And we also had Girl Up, which is a United Nations foundation, support and financially back the equality campaign. And we also, for the other 3 campaigns, MCM provided funding. It was kind of like a decision that happened later on. We were like, these are such great ideas. How can we not give that extra bit of support, even though we didn't have specific sponsors for the prizes? So yeah, MC15, all 5 of these campaigns were launched. So the delegates saw what the campaigns were about, what the leaders intended or had planned for these initiatives, and sent out this like huge call to action, like join me, come to a workshop, learn more about my idea. The leaders were very clear in saying like, I want to hear your ideas, which was awesome. So it was just big like collective gathering. It was amazing. So yeah, like each campaign had like 50 to 80 delegates kind of sign up for e-letters. The Facebook pages now have like hundreds of followers, which is so crazy and cool. And yeah, so MCC 15 was basically the beginning of all of that. And the campaign leaders were also paired with kind of temporary conference mentors or like prize presenters. So the Oceans one had Steve Fox from the Rummer Family Foundation. We also had Sakina Yakubi, who's like a big deal. She does a lot of amazing work in Afghanistan. And so she provided feedback to Pedro's health campaign. And then we had someone from Girl Up comment on the equality campaign. And we also had someone from the Peace Corps, Helen Lohman, talk to Katie, whose Asylum Connect campaign was started there as well. And so it was just this like the campaigns were already kind of formed prior to the conference, but the conference was used as a platform to further like reshape and improve on these campaigns with the input of the delegates and these like really experienced professionals and mentors. So that's how the campaigns fit into MCC 15. I'm so excited to see how they play into MCC 16. It's like the first year is a big deal, but I think the second year is an even bigger deal because you have something to work with and you decide like based on what you've seen over this past year where you want to take it. So I'm so excited to see how it comes together. Abby and Leonard, I know you're doing a great job. So yeah, that's the campaigns at MCC 15 in a nutshell.
And what was, like, if you could choose, like, I know it's hard to choose one, so I'm going to say, like, your top 3 moments from MCC 15. And it could even be, like, before or after or during. So kind of like the whole experience. If you could choose 3, what are they?
Okay. Ooh, that's a tough one. It's actually really nice to think about. I haven't thought about MCC 15 in a while. So I would say just when we were helping to run the check-in booth, just like seeing everyone come from all over the world. They're like, they have their suitcases. They're like, I just got in from this place and whatever. And then you see people like, they clearly were in touch either on Facebook or something before the conference. They became like pen pals or something. And you see people just like congregating, being like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you. That was great. That just the first day. And I think, yeah, the Terry Crews moment, I think was great for everyone. Like people were really shocked and moved by his speech. And my third favorite moment is probably just like having the amazing opportunity to sit up there with you guys, the campaign mentors and leaders, during the campaign's keynote. That was wild. it was really great to be up there, watching like you guys present your campaigns to all the delegates, and yeah, good times. So yeah, those are my top three.
There's definitely a photo somewhere that someone, it was just like a really good moment that they caught, because it's me sitting on the stage at the UN and like leaning over to see if it actually says my name, which it did. And someone caught a photo of me like, wow, that's really my name, like right there. And I was like really tempted. I haven't found who took it. They showed it to me, and I need to find who it was. So it's like a call out. If you have that photo, like please send it to me. Because that would be a great like profile pic, because it's just me like looking over like, whoa, that's me. Yeah. The whole like the day that we presented our campaigns was very surreal. I remember like waking up, and I had two girls from Oregon who were studying. They were both international students, so they were studying in Oregon, come and stay with me, because I lived right outside of New York. And we were all sitting, eating breakfast, like getting ready to leave on the train. And I'm like looking over my speech. I'm like, oh my gosh, in like 4 hours or like 5 hours, I'm going to be standing at the UN giving a speech to the most people I think I've ever seen outside of like a concert or like a play or something. And like they're going to be listening to what I say, and I have the potential to inspire them. And that was just nerve-wracking and amazing all at the same time, because knowing that my words could maybe spark an interest or change someone's opinion at such an iconic place, I was like, how am I not? I didn't drink coffee that day. I was so jittery. Like, I think that I was like hyperventilating right before sitting there, like keeping my breathing calm. I remember talking to Katie next to me, and we're both like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is like next level insane. If you had told like old Emily that this is what I'd be doing, I would have thought that you got the wrong Emily. Like, there's another Emily Nocito out there, and it's not me. But it was so much fun, and I'm so excited to be doing Career Cluster and Impact Studio and meeting everyone at MCC 16 and seeing people from the previous campaigns. We got to see each other at NYU a couple of months ago, and it was so nice to like reunite with them. Pedro from California, Donovan from Boston, Katie from Pennsylvania, LJ and Kiara from like South Africa. We're just like, what? How are we're all back in New York. It was so nice to see everyone again and meet new people. So I'm so pumped. I think my friends are so exhausted of me talking about MCC 16, but also really excited for me. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to meet all the campaign winners and runner-ups and kind of see like what this next year is going to bring. So I'm going to be one of those like lovely constant faces on the webinars. I'll take time out of my busy graduate school, all 2 classes. So thank you guys so much for sharing your experiences and your future experiences, I guess you could call it. So thank you.
No problem.
Thanks.
I think we have to, do we have the other meeting?
We got
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you for joining us.
No
Thank you.
problem. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
And we will see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome.
What?
Now I have some user-submitted questions
Awesome. Wait, can
that
I
I'd love to hit upon.
that the past 20 minutes were amazing for me. Just like hearing you guys talk about, oh my gosh, it's just, I didn't forget, but I needed to think about how crazy that experience was again. It was, yeah, good time.
I wake up like, or like I'll be doing something for 10 by 2020.
Yeah.
And I'll just have like a moment of like, how did I get here? Like we broke, like last week we broke 300 likes on Facebook. And I was like, how did we do this? Like, what happened? How did I get here?
Yeah.
But it's so much, it was so much fun, and it's continuing to be just like the best, probably the best experience in my life so far. Like,
Wow.
I'm very excited for 2016. So
I love
super
your
excited.
like
Okay.
your willingness to
So
and all that. Sorry.
yeah,
That was amazing. Anyways, continue.
it's all good. So we got some user submitted questions that I said I would touch upon. So the first question is, I've been reading a lot about Florida and something called HABs. It says that it's really affecting the waters of Florida. What is a HAB and why is it so bad? So yeah, Florida is in a bit of a disarray right now because HAB is stands for harmful algal bloom. And right now, Florida and actually parts of the East Coast, so like Long Island, kind of moving upwards, you'll see a lot of algal blooms. So what it is it's a really thick toxic algae that's been strangling the state's waterways and polluting its beaches. And so when people think of algae, they usually think of like either an aquarium and it's that stuff that kind of sticks to the side, or maybe you've seen little vials and it's like these little itty bitty plants. But what's happening in Florida is so crazy that you can actually see the algae from space. So a NASA satellite took a photo and you can see this green, thick, like covering on the water. So the problem is mostly in Lake Okeechobee. Sorry if I butchered that name. But the thing about this is this cyanobacteria, which is a blue-green algae, is harmful. So if a person was to consume a large amount of this water, it can cause renal failure, liver failure, like a whole host of problems. But you would have to go and actively drink like quite a lot of the water. The big issue is for small kids, for dogs, and for different sea life. And this thick bloom is actually closing beaches, which for Florida during the summer is not a good thing. So hotel reservations have seen a dip. People aren't going to the water because they're closed, because it's this kind of goopy, like gross kind of film on the water. And right now, a big concern is they found some manatees that have passed away. And while they're not sure if it's related to the harmful algal blooms, they are certain that it will have negative effects. And manatees just made it off the species list. So it's kind of sad to see it go off the list and then maybe come back on because of this algal bloom. So these toxic blooms have been around for quite some time, but they're mostly caused by runoff that has nitrogen or fertilizer in it, and also warm temperatures. So in Florida right now, they've had elevated temperatures, so warmer than usual. They've had a lot of rain, which causes the runoff. So these are perfect conditions to have a harmful algal bloom. And they're seeing that these blooms are happening more and more. So for example, in Lake Erie, they've been dealing with these blooms for years, and it sometimes interrupts drinking water access for thousands of people. 2 beaches in Vermont recently closed because of a toxic algae, which sickened the swimmers on contact, which is really dangerous. So not only is it harmful to the environment, to the marine species, to people, but it's also harmful to local economies that rely on these summer months to have people come in and swim and kind of hang out in this coastal town. Sea level rise is also thought to kind of increase the occurrence of harmful algal blooms, because when the sea level rises, it will create more shallow coastal water, which is ideal for this cyanobacteria to flourish. And the high levels of carbon dioxide in the air have a tendency to feed these algal blooms. So kind of it's this really bad thing and the perfect mix of really bad to feed it. So there right now, the Army Corps of Engineers is trying to kind of mitigate the algal bloom that's happening right now, and also find a way to cease any future algal blooms. But it's a really difficult thing to deal with, especially because we might be dealing with one strain of cyanobacteria this year, and then next year it could be a completely different strain. So things that work this year might not work next year. So this kind of, it's described as guacamole-like in texture, which is really gross if you think about swimming in water that has like a guacamole covering. Sounds delicious, but terrifying. So hopefully this gets resolved. It will likely decrease as the weather kind of gets colder, but right now it is a big issue. And like I said, you can literally see it from space. It's thought to be in the Lake Okeechobee in Florida. It's thought to be 33 square miles, which covers a really good chunk of this very large lake. It's actually the second largest lake entirely within the United States. And it doesn't seem to be kind of backing down. So we're going to see where this goes. Hopefully it gets better. But right now, or as of on June 29th, the governor of Florida did actually call a state of emergency for nearby counties because it was so bad. So it's kind of crazy that like algae, which you think small, caused a very large state to go into a state of emergency. So that's what's happening in Florida right now. We're going to see how it goes, and I'll definitely keep everyone updated on that.
Yeah.
And then the second question we have,
just quickly, I mean, nothing to the same degree, but in Vermont here, like, the beaches have been closed because of algae in the lake. So it's happening everywhere. It's crazy. And it, like what you were saying about it affecting tourism, same thing is happening with like changing climates in regards to skiing. Like in Vermont, they had like a pretty snowless winter and lost millions because, you know, skiing is a huge industry for them. So yeah, so many like cross-cutting issues here.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary that like it's kind of hitting all over the East Coast. So it's not good. Long Island struggles with this problem quite often in the Sound and the Bay and kind of the surrounding areas because Long Island does have a large kind of agricultural population, so it's a lot of nitrogen, it's a lot of fertilizer, all running off into waters that can be pretty closed off. So it's not fun. Definitely not fun. So the second question I got, I was really excited to research. It was, I saw your postings about Finding Dory and the blue tangs, but what is the real science between Finding Nemo / Finding Dory? And I was so excited for this because personally, Finding Nemo is one of my favorite movies. I was super excited for Finding Dory. I saw it twice in theaters. I own a lot more Finding Dory things than I'm willing to admit. So I was really excited to look into how accurate is the science behind Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. And I found a fantastic video that I'm going to share with you guys, which, quick disclaimer, I do not own this video. It's property of ABC Science Online. You can find it on YouTube. Please do not think that I made this video and hired these people to talk about it, because I did not. And I acknowledge that I did not. So here we go. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Looks great.
Don't own this, not me.
Hello, welcome to Catalyst. The Academy Award-winning movie Finding Nemo took a little animated fish and made him a superstar. Tonight, reporter Richard Smith sets out to discover if there's any scientific truth to Nemo's extraordinary tale.
What do you think you're doing? Get back here!
Remember this little guy?
If you put one fin on that boat, are you listening to me? Don't touch the boat. Nemo!
Finding Nemo was the animation hit of 2003.
You were in big trouble, young man. Do you hear me?
It was the story of a little clownfish plucked from his home on the Great Barrier Reef and rescued by his father after an epic trip down the east coast of Australia to Sydney. The film set a new standard for animation. It also hit the mark with Australian marine biologists studying the real-life adventures of Nemo's fishy friends.
Well, I think a lot of marine biologists were quite excited to watch the Nemo film, actually. Obviously, someone had done their homework. They'd talked about the movement of tropical fishes into temperate waters, which is something that we're looking at.
Perhaps surprisingly for a Hollywood movie, there's a remarkable degree of scientific truth to the Nemo storyline.
And then we go out and back in. And then one more time, out.
Not the talking animals, of course, but the basic premise of fish on the Great Barrier Reef hitching a ride south of the border.
Hey, they know Sydney. You wouldn't know how to get there, would you?
What you want to do is follow the EAC. That's East Australian current. Big current. Can't miss it. It's in that direction.
The EAC starts in North Queensland and then sweeps down the Barrier Reef. Every second carrying up to 30 million cubic metres of warm tropical seawater southwards at speeds of up to 4 knots. Of course, fish don't choose to ride the current. It's just something that happens. By early summer, most fish on the reef are busily making babies. Millions of them are cast adrift into the blue. Unlike many of his neighbours, a clownfish father will protect his eggs, but only until they hatch.
If you look closely at the eggs, you can see the little embryos forming. First thing you'll see is the silvery eyes, and then they'll erupt clear and the larvae presumably get swept offshore.
Countless young reef fish begin a perilous journey out beyond the reef. Many will make their way back to the coral after a few weeks in the plankton. But every year, some unwitting adventurers end up having the ride of their lives on the EAC.
Okay, grab shell, dude!
Grab
Exactly what these tiny fish are doing while out to sea remains a mystery. Although no bigger than fingernails, it would probably be wrong to assume they're simply swept along by the current, as we know they can swim strongly by themselves. But somehow, shortly after Christmas, they start popping up in Sydney Harbour.
Look! Sydney. Sydney! Sydney! Sydney again!
You were right, Dory. We made it.
Up to 80 species of Nemo's tiny tropical friends, even a rare clownfish or two, have now been spotted in Sydney.
Certainly, there's a suite of tropical fish that make it every year in the first half of the year into Sydney Harbour and even a lot further south.
These are accidental tourists, tropical vagrants arriving as a result of an ancient evolutionary strategy.
So that is definitely a good thing. This gravity is here.
By allowing their offspring to drift away from home, fish populations can spread to wherever changing climates and conditions allow them to survive.
The sticky question, I suppose, is where have they come from? Have they come from the most southerly reefs, which might be, say, Coffs Harbour? Or have they come from the southern Barrier Reef or the northern or whatever?
Part of the answer can be found in the fish themselves. Inside the ear canal of fish are tiny stones. These grow day by day. Put one of these weeny ear stones in an electron microscope and you can count the daily growth rate.
So what you're seeing on the screen here is about a tenth the diameter of a pinhead. So it's really expanded out.
Each one of these concentric rings represents a day in the life of the fish.
If you know how old an animal is, you know what its growth rate is, and potentially, if it's drifting, where it's come from.
Most fish arriving in Sydney have spent 20 to 30 days at sea. Even assuming a simple drift in the current, some fish have probably travelled up to 1,500 kilometres. Proof that it's possible for them to make it from the Barrier Reef to the bright lights of the Big Smoke. But just how far south can these small fish hitch a ride?
Focus on the road.
It's time to hit the road.
Naturally,
The East Australian current continues down towards Tasmania, peeling off into large warm eddies which can lick in towards the coast. The eddies bring fish larvae in with them.
Oh, God! Oh. I got it.
Eventually, near the New South Wales-Victorian border, the larvae reach the end of the road.
One of the hot spots, as we call them, is just inside Rivular Lakes. For some reason, they're getting off the bus there, you might say. My suspicion is that, especially in April and May, fairly warm plumes of water come out of Rivular Lakes, so there's a good chance of swimming to those.
It's no surprise, really. They head in looking for the perfect coastal real estate. Somewhere warm, sheltered, and with enough reef to substitute for the coral one they left behind. They're looking for a home away from home.
A little dark one, there's a little baby dust as well. It's a large dust. It's a very big topic in marine ecology in general, how populations are connected, and that has implications for marine reserves and also our understanding of reef fish populations. These are fish that have, I suppose you could say, lost their way. So I guess this is the extreme.
Unfortunately, there isn't a happy Hollywood ending for these small lost souls. A few will end up in fish tanks like Nemo himself. A very few will manage to survive to adulthood. But by far the majority will die during the first cold snap of winter. But their big adventures are teaching us something quite important about how wonderfully interconnected the oceans really are.
And yet another shopping trip.
Wow, who knew? I had no idea it was scientific. It had scientific basis.
Yeah, so I knew very little of the science of Finding Nemo. I know that they actually did hire some marine scientists, marine biologists to assist in the creation of the reef and like the I guess I thought it was more visual than like the actual science, but to know that you can hypothetically get into the tides or and move that way. It was very, it was interesting. And it's a little scary if you think about it, that they can survive that long, but only to a point. So it's kind of, it's always difficult for me with the oceans, but it's kind of like if I was in Canada and I saw a moose, that would be fine. But if I saw a moose like down here in New Jersey, I would be a little concerned for a multitude of reasons. But it is apparently somewhat scientifically accurate. Of course, we have to ignore the idea that like fish talk. And
well, you never know.
You know, that
like Matt tomorrow saying that part was also scientifically accurate.
Exactly. So, there's this great list that I had found when, like probably a year ago. And it's from a Disney kind of website, and it's called Everything We Know About Marine Biology We Learned from Finding Nemo, which I honestly think is like pretty accurate, because I know I was in 3rd or 4th grade when Finding Nemo came out, and it became one of my favorite movies, and I think I obsessively watched it, and I'm like that weird person that can like quote the movie at you. But this actually is a good segue into one of the other questions we got, and that was, like, honestly, one of the most difficult questions I've ever had to do is, what is, in your opinion, the cutest and the ugliest animals? And it's like a very, not like a minor character, but in Finding Nemo, there is a pink flapjack octopus named Pearl. And she is similar to a Dumbo octopus, which was also named for a Disney character. So Dumbo octopus is actually a type of octopus, so it's not a specific species. There's about 37 different species of Dumbo octopi. And they can be found all over the world in oceans. And it was named Dumbo after the Walt Disney character Dumbo the elephant, because it's ear-like fins. And they are, in my opinion, like really, really, really cute. So here is, let's pull this up. So this is the Dumbo octopus that the Pearl character is based off of. And you can see kind of its ears are similar to the ears of the Dumbo elephant. And here's a couple of different species of Dumbo octopi. And they're very small. They don't grow to be very large. And they're just like the cutest thing in the world. You can even Google Dumbo octopus cute, and they come up.
Wow.
So that is, I had to choose two. But like, how cute is that?
Oh my god.
That looks like something from a Disney movie. Like if this approached me while I was in the ocean, I'd be like, this isn't real life.
Yeah, I'd be like,
so that is, like, you just want to pet it. Like, look at it, gets so floppy. So that is, in my opinion, one of the cutest. One of the ugliest, and I have to give a nod, is the sea wolf. So I am an alumni of Stony Brook University, and we're called the Sea Wolves. And this is not our mascot; it's a literal wolf, based on a Native American folktale. But this is the actual sea wolf. It's not attractive. It's kind of terrifying. It has some weird like vampire teeth attached to it. It's found in like the bottom of the ocean. It's not good. It's really scary looking. So this is unfortunately the real animal of my undergraduate college.
Wow.
Really
I
great.
wonder why they
Really
didn't go with
purifying. Yeah.
I feel like at a sports
I don't know. And they're
team,
like surprisingly large.
yeah. If you had like, you know, those
Yeah.
uniforms, the opposing team would have no chance. They'd be so terrified.
I was gonna say, like, well, we're always, our chant is, what's a seawolf? And you're supposed to say, like, I'm a seawolf, but I am not this. See this right here, people? This is not me.
I don't think you are that either.
Nor is that.
Oh my god.
I am neither of those people. It's also called the wolffish, the Atlantic wolffish. This is like its skull. Like, this is its head. It's very, very scary. So, I think, in my opinion, that is one of the ugliest fish. But now I have to give like a little like shout out. This is a sea wolf. This is Wolfie the sea wolf.
Oh.
So it's a little bit nicer looking, just a bit.
Yeah.
Then my other favorite sea creature is the manatee. I'm obsessed with manatees. They're like the cutest thing to me. They're so docile. They're pretty much like the sloths of the ocean, in my opinion. And I actually, for my birthday, my friends adopted a manatee for me. So I have a manatee out there. He hangs out near Florida. His name is Ilya. He is like the cutest thing in the world. So here, I will show you. This is one of my favorite pictures of a manatee ever. Let me see. Pull it up. So manatees are herbivores, as you can see. That is a manatee in an aquarium that is having a lot of fun with its lettuce.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so there are actually 3 different species of manatee, and they're distinctly named for where you could find them. Manatees look a lot like dugongs. The difference is in the tail, along with some other physiology. They're just like the cutest thing to me. Like, it's insane. Here's manatees like holding hands. Here's manatee family. Really interesting. Normally manatees give birth to only 1 pup at a time, but just a manatee was spotted with twins. So here's the mama manatee and the 2 babies. So I think that's like the cutest thing in the world. Like, look at how cute they are. And it's illegal to touch or play with or annoy a manatee in the state of Florida. Fun fact, a woman got arrested not too long ago for like seeing a manatee and trying to ride it like a horse. And she got arrested. It's a federal offense. So, FYI, in case you wanted to touch a manatee, you cannot.
In case I wanted to ride a manatee.
Unless you would like to. Yeah. So, you cannot ride a manatee. You can, but it would be bad. And it was even more unfortunate, it was caught on the news by a helicopter. And so, yeah, they caught her, and the police arrested her. This was back in 2013. Because, like I said, it is illegal. It's a state law, and she got charged with a 2nd-degree misdemeanor.
Wow.
So, don't do it. I would be really tempted to like touch a manatee or like play with it or something, but no. And also, like, don't bother the manatees if you happen to be with one. They're very kind. They might come up to you, especially if you're like wakeboarding or paddleboarding. So just don't. So that's like the 2nd cutest species to me. And then the most unfortunate, I don't think it's ugly, but I just think it's just like it's unfortunate looking, is the blobfish, which like even its name, at least like sea wolf or wolffish, like sounds powerful. The blobfish is named because it's literally a blob. It has a big sad nose. It constantly looks like it's frowning. Like, this is not a Pokemon, y'all. Like, you cannot catch them all. But it got like a cult-like status. You can get like blobfish, like toys. But yeah, it looks like it melted, really sadly. But the blobfish is from the deep sea. It's found in the waters around Australia, Tasmania, and New Zealand. They live at pretty deep depths, so between 2,000 and just under 4,000 feet deep. So the reason why it looks like that is it's primarily a gelatinous mass with a density that's slightly less than water, so it can float above the seafloor without expending energy on swimming. So it doesn't really have a lot of muscle, and that's fine because it really swallows like what's considered edible matter, so like small crustaceans, and they're usually caught as bycatch. So now scientists are afraid that this really gross-looking fish can become an endangered species. So in water, it actually looks very different because the density of the water around it kind of holds it together. But as soon as you take it out of water, it becomes like very gross. In September of 2013, the blobfish was voted the world's ugliest animal and it was actually adopted as the mascot for an organization called the Ugly Animal Preservation Society. In of itself is actually a really great organization. So the Ugly Animal Preservation Society is it's a comedy night that has a conservation kind of twist to it. So it wants to raise the profile of species that aren't as pretty or cute that get a lot of awareness. Someone says, "Oh, I went and saw a panda," people go, "Aww." Well, if someone was like, "Oh, I went to go see a blobfish," oh. Well, both are considered like endangered or might. So it kind of wants to bring new information to different ugly, quote unquote, animals, different forms of sea slugs, certain types of water frogs, the naked mole rat. So it's a really cool concept that just has a funny name. So their mascot in 2013 was the blobfish.
What's that term for animals that are like human or cute? Charismatic megafauna?
Anthropomorphic. Yeah, there's megafauna, and they're like sometimes they like like megafauna. So that's like pandas. And what happens with really cute animals is people get like they like anthropomorphize, so they attribute like human characteristics to non-humans. But yeah, megafauna, charismatic megafauna is like the technical term for large animal species that have like a widespread popular appeal. So like elephants, lions, tigers, humpback whales, pandas, the great white shark even falls under that. And kind of charismatic megafauna is a huge proponent or component of ecotourism, because once again, it's a lot cooler if you get to take a picture of an elephant up close than a blobfish. You'd rather see a gray wolf than a sea slug, even though all animal lives matter. So, and then the next question that we had, and this is, I believe, one of the last ones, is this was really difficult. So it was actually asked me in person. She's like, my friend asked me, so you told us what we do know about the oceans. We know that it covers 70% of our land. We know that we don't know a lot about the ocean. We know a lot of things, but like, what are some like mysteries of the ocean.
Mm.
And I recalled a domestic video about what we don't know about the ocean. So once again, I will be showing a video that does not belong to me. It is from SciShow on YouTube, which is I'm getting the ad done with. It's a fantastic show hosted by Hank Green, who is a scientist, and you most likely know his brother John Green for writing The Fault in Our Stars and all the other like videos or books that make us cry. It's a fantastic video that I'm going to show now that I do not own. Please see statement of I do not own this. It is not mine.
Done a pretty good job of exploring the Earth thus far, climbing mountains and crossing continents and planting our flags all over the place in the name of science. The one part of the world that has remained pretty mysterious to us also happens to cover more than 70% of its surface. The ocean. Yes, we have sailed across it plenty of times and drilled for oil in it and managed to create reality shows about fishing in it, but from glowing oceans to massive deep-sea creatures and underwater ecosystems with thousands of undiscovered, basically alien species, we still have a lot to learn about it. Probably more than any place on Earth, the ocean is full of fascinating stuff that we just don't know. Not yet. Number 1. What's the ocean floor like? Fact is, we still don't know exactly what the ocean floor looks like in most places. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says that 95% of the ocean's bottom remains unseen by humans. As a result, we have a way better picture of the surfaces of other planets than we do of most of the seafloor. In 2014, a team of scientists created a map of the seafloor using data from satellites equipped with special sensors called radar altimeters. These instruments can precisely measure the distance from the satellite to the surface of the ocean below. Essentially, any large mountains or canyons on the ocean floor have a slight gravitational effect on the ocean's surface, creating bumps and dips respectively. These variations are of course too subtle to be detected by human eyes, but they can be measured by these ultra-precise satellite altimeters, and after adjusting for the effect of waves and tides, tell scientists what's on the seafloor. This map spans the entire ocean floor, which is awesome, and we're all glad that it exists, but it only has a resolution of about 5 kilometers, which is pretty low. By comparison, most of the surface of Mars, Venus, and the Moon have been mapped to resolutions of 100 meters or less. So if we want to know what's going on down there and really explore the ocean, detecting life, specific mineral formations, or wrecks, we're gonna need a better map. Number 2, what's under the seafloor? Okay, you're probably thinking that you know what's down there. Rock, yes, but not just rock. In 2015, scientists reported that they had drilled down about 2.5 kilometers below the seafloor off the coast of Japan and discovered living microbes. They were only about 10 to 10,000 in a cubic centimeter of sediment that they studied, compared to like billions that you'd find in the same amount of dirt from your garden. But still, there's life down there, even in the intense heat and pressure many kilometers below where the ocean stops. Genomes of these undersea microbes showed that they were actually more similar to the kinds you'd find in forest soil rather than the ones in seafloor sediments. So it's possible that these microbes are descendants of terrestrial ones from 20 million years ago that just adapted when their habitat began to get buried way beneath the ocean. So who knows what other kinds of life could exist in deep marine sediments, or what they could tell us about what life on Earth used to be like. Number 3. Brine pools. We've all seen lakes and rivers on land, but what about lakes that are underwater? Sounds a little bit unreal, like maybe it's from the SpongeBob episode, but these features actually exist. Pockets of seawater that have a different composition than the surrounding ocean because they're super salty. They're known as brine pools, and they seem to have formed when layers of salt from evaporated oceans millions of years ago got buried under layers of sediment. Seawater can reach these deposits and mix with the salt, forming a dense brine that flows out of the seafloor, sometimes filled with oils or methane gas. Some brine pools, like those found deep in the Gulf of Mexico, are actually 4 times as salty as the ocean water around it. And the brine is so dense that submersibles can even float on top of it like a boat on a lake. All this salt makes brine pools lethal to larger animals, but colonies of halophilic or salt-loving microorganisms can flourish there, usually in much higher concentrations than the nearby normal seawater. Some pools are even lined with mussels that have symbiotic bacteria in their gills, which use the methane in the brine to make energy for the mussels. But there's a ton that we don't know about these weird underwater salt licks, like how brine pools can be so different from each other and why some have mussels and others don't, and even how many there are. Number 4. Milky seas. Also known as mareal, this is a phenomenon in which thousands of square kilometers of the ocean surface glow a brilliant whitish blue. It lasts for such a short time, and there have been so few recorded sightings that these glowing seas were thought to be a myth made up by crazy sailors. Until 2005, when a group of researchers was studying satellite pictures of a swath of the Indian Ocean from 1995. These pictures showed an area of about 15,000 kilometers square, around the size of Connecticut, glowing for 3 nights. It was the first scientific evidence of the phenomenon, but the glowing waters are still not very well understood. Some have suggested that the glow is caused by a mass of tiny dinoflagellates called Noctiluca scintillans, known as sea sparkles for the way they glow when disturbed. These protists are what cause the picturesque glittering waves along coastlines in some parts of the world. But the 2005 study showed that it was unlikely, if not impossible, that the short-lived glowing of dinoflagellates was what scientists had been seeing from space. The prevailing theory these days is that milky seas are caused by massive colonies of bioluminescent bacteria that are growing on top of an algal bloom. But we are still not sure how or why these ephemeral masses of bacteria gather, glow, and disappear. Number 5, the 52 Hertz whale. You'd think we would know a lot about whales. I mean, they're big, and we have their skeletons, and we can observe their migratory patterns. But one thing we still have a lot more to learn about is their songs, from why some whales make them to how an animal without vocal cords or lips manages to make song-like sounds. And then there's this question. What whale is producing the 52 Hertz song? And why? This whale song was first noted by a technician on December 7th, 1992 in the Northeast Pacific Ocean. It sounded like a blue whale, but blue whale cries are usually somewhere between 15 and 20 hertz in pitch, so blue whales in the Pacific typically sound like this. But this whale song, played at the same speed, sounded like this. This high-pitched noise seemed to be unique to one animal, a whale that became known as 52 Blue. This raises a lot of questions, and we have to know more about whales to be able to answer some of them, like why does this one whale sound different, and can others even hear it, and if they can hear it, do they understand? Some people latched onto the idea that 52 Blue is a lonely whale crying out to others that might not hear it or wouldn't call back. But several scientists have rejected this lonely narrative and think that other whales may be able to understand its call, even if they can't make that call themselves. Also, 52 Blue seems to migrate independently from any other whales, but its migratory patterns do look kind of like those of blue whales. Scientists have been tracking it up and down the North Pacific from Alaska to Mexico for years now. So some researchers think it might have some malformation that changed how it sings, or maybe it's even a hybrid between a blue whale and another species. Whether or not it's a lonely whale, 52 Blue is an oddity that people seem to love. Number 6. Upsweep. Now, ocean sounds are practically their own field of study. NOAA has been monitoring acoustics in the ocean for decades now. Instead of microphones, which are used to collect sound in air, NOAA uses hydrophones to record underwater sounds. Mostly these hydrophones are used to listen to the ambient sound of the ocean, to see how humans might interfere with it, and to listen for things like earthquakes and whale calls. And sometimes they record things that are hard to explain, at least for a while. In 1997, for example, there was what was known as the bloop, an extremely loud, low-frequency sound heard by hydrophones some 5,000 kilometers apart. Oceanographers recently determined that it was the result of an ice quake, the cracking and collapse of glaciers into the ocean, in this case on the coast of Antarctica. But there's another mysterious sound from the ocean known as upsweep. Recorded in August 1991, it sounds like a repeating boop that picks up at the end, sweeping up, kind of like the red alert sound effect you hear on spaceships in sci-fi movies. But instead of trying to describe it, I can just play it for you. Since 1991, this sound has been heard regularly in the Pacific Ocean, and it seems to be seasonal, usually becoming more common in spring and fall. Researchers have tracked the sound to a part of the Pacific that has lots of volcanic and seismic activity, which seem to be important clues. But according to NOAA, the origin of the sound is unresolved. Number 7. Why are deep-sea creatures so huge? From the kraken to sea dragons, all of our favorite mythical sea monsters are gigantic. The fact is, in real life, many deep-sea creatures are unusually huge. This phenomenon is called deep-sea gigantism. But what drives it is, you guessed it, unknown. In the deep sea, and especially near the polar oceans, some animals seem to get really huge, like colossal squids, giant isopods, fighter crabs. Scientists aren't sure why, but they do have some guesses. There's Bergman's rule, for example, which suggests that temperature may influence gigantism. This might be because larger animals have less surface area relative to volume, so they heat based on their mass and stay warmer in colder climates. And then there's Kleiber's law, which states that more massive animals generally have lower metabolic rates and therefore need less high-quality food to survive. Still, other theories suggest that gigantism may help organisms resist increased pressure in the deep sea. But we don't really have conclusive biological reasons why these giant creatures exist. So the ocean is just full of mysteries, maybe because it's so huge and dark and deep. But just so you know, we're not hyping you. We're not saying these 7 topics are things that science can't explain. Instead, you should just think of them as reminders of how much we still have to learn about the ocean. As our technology improves and our access to the ocean takes us to new depths, we'll be able to see and hear and sample more stuff than we ever have before. So in time, these puzzles will be solved and new creatures will be discovered, and our understanding of our planet and the life on it will be that much deeper. Thank you for watching this SciShow List Show, and thanks especially
I'm gonna be honest, like, I love Hank Green. He's like one of my favorite people in the world. And that really touched upon a lot of mysteries. I remember reading about the bloop in the ocean when I was younger, and the 52 hertz whale, which, like, I don't think that it is a lonely whale. I really hope it's not a lonely whale. But they've been tracking that whale for years now. The idea that there are lakes and rivers in our ocean is crazy, and there's so much that we don't know, or we only know maybe 1% of. So, like, we know that this whale makes a noise that we're not used to seeing or hearing, I guess you could say, from the species that we think it is. And we know that there have been occurrences of this Milky Sea, but we don't know what causes it. So it just kind of shows that there's so much still to be learned. And the fact, and I knew this, and I've known it for quite some time, the fact that we know more about the surface area of a planet that isn't ours than the sea floor of something that's literally like 3 hours away from me is crazy. Like, that just, and it's because it's difficult to study, and of course people are interested in different things. We don't expect people to only want to study like the ocean floor, but it's just crazy that people can travel to a different planet and we know more about it than our own. So that was some of the great mysteries of the deep that we do not know.
He's a great
do you have any questions?
Oh, am I? Oh no, he's a great, like, communicator. I like how, I don't know what his, like, target audience is, but it's cool also how he made it, like, okay to be so uncertain and not knowledgeable about all these things. It wasn't like a daunting, like, oh my gosh, there's so much out there we don't know about. He's like, this is actually, like, how science works. Like, you're constantly making new discoveries. You're always reminded that, like, the more you know, the more you know you don't know. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
No,
it's true.
Yeah.
As soon as you learn something, especially in the sciences, that one thing that you learn can cause you to have 5 new questions.
Exactly.
Like, that's how science is.
Yeah.
You're not going to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit silly to think that you will know everything.
Yeah, it's kind of naive to think that. But yeah. You could also spin this into a metaphor for, like, global development. It's like, there's so many things, like you said, 3 hours away from you that you don't know about. A lot of us do have, like, an outward approach. Like, we're constantly looking at other issues, like, continents away, without really, like, having a solid grasp of what's happening in our own communities.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is.
And then I just wanted to touch upon kind of a new development in the creation of marine protected areas and kind of this new approach. So a study was released in a journal that is called Conservation Biology, and they argue that there aren't enough pristine reefs left in the world to kind of fulfill the MPA's 13 and the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity goal. But they are instead saying that we should create new marine protected areas around degraded reef habitat. So that builds the opportunity for restoring and reconnecting reefs rather than just abandoning these areas. Which kind of people have a tendency to look at a degraded reef and say, well, rather than that, they're saying, we know this area works for reefs because the reef was there. We know that there's a potential for recovery, resilience against disturbance and stress, kind of like, let's rehab this area. And it's one thing that seems so simple that why aren't we doing it? So they're saying, like, why don't we use this as a kind of conceptual framework that people can look at this and say, here's an idea for an MPA. And they're not saying like it's going to happen instantaneously, because restoration in any case takes a long time. So, and another thing is, why was that habitat degraded? Was it degraded because the community was fishing there, or was there pollution? And to have a successful restoration, you need to close off that area. So you will still need to talk to local communities that depend on fishing, and kind of explain to them that this might have a long-term benefit for the ecosystem and for them and their like livelihoods. So it's a really amazing paper, and it's a really good idea as a way to kind of create MPAs where you wouldn't think to put them. So that's like, I think it's an amazing idea. We obviously won't know if it works for years from now, when kind of we start to see if these areas have kind of some hope left in them for becoming reefs again and seeing that diversity that we really need. But it would be definitely a step in the right direction. And it's kind of interesting to hear that degraded reefs might provide a new hope for ocean conservation. Because you think of this pristine, healthy ecosystem set aside when you might actually be protecting bleached, maybe degraded, maybe broken reef. But that would still count to conserving 10% of the ocean by the year 2020. So kind of anything that gets us there would be really great. And one of my favorite quotes from the author, who's has studied reefs in Micronesia, Thailand, Seychelles, Philippines, all over, and is from Tel Aviv University in Israel, is 30, 50 years ago, it made sense to target only the best, healthiest sites for protection. But our planet is completely different now. So it's this idea that we maybe are holding ourselves to standards that were easier to accomplish years ago, but now we have to face our new reality. And unfortunately, or luckily, depending on how you want to read into this, that is degraded reefs that we can hopefully kind of give a jump start back to life to. So I thought that was a really interesting study and paper, and a really cool way to approach SDG 14 that I never even thought about. Do you have any comments or?
I like how they're so willing to like mold, I don't know, their approach based on, you know, changing times. Like, I think so many issues, like that's why, although I think policy is great, I have a hard time working in that area, because I see so many crazy outdated laws like you hear about those like weird fun trivia facts about things that still exist. It's like a lot of those sectors just aren't willing or able to keep up with like rapidly changing environments. And I think, yeah, like it's great to see that they're revisiting their original initiative, because like all this whole sustainable development agenda is supposed to last 15 years, right? And like to expect things to be similar even like 5 years from now is kind of ridiculous. And so I see now why the agenda is so loosely structured and somewhat vague. Hopefully it's just like a way to allow people to use those guidelines and apply it to whatever is relevant at the moment. Because I realized at first I definitely was like, oh, these goals are so big picture. There's not enough specific statistics or metrics or things like that. But I kind of get it now.
Mm-hmm.
How could you do that 15 years in advance? Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah.
I'm always a big supporter of what I like to call scientifically backed policy.
Yeah.
That kind of tries to prevent some of those silly laws.
Yeah.
Or laws that are very vague. So, like for example, like in New Jersey, like, okay, you cannot pump your own gas. That's a law. But also, like, it's against the law to frown at a police officer. Now, this isn't that I've ever heard of being enforced, but it is written somewhere in the New Jersey, like, whatever, Constitution. You cannot frown at a police officer. You cannot, it's against the law for a man to knit during the fishing season. Like, it's silly laws like that. And, like, that's, of course, very overblown laws that I'm saying, but this idea of scientifically backed policy will stop kind of these vague laws and allow room for improvement, because science is ever changing, which means that policy has to be ever changing, and kind of prevents that very vagueness that we see. So, like, for example, the 10 by 2020 is the only numerical goal in all of the text of the Sustainable Development Goal 14. It's the only one with like a number. 10% of the ocean conserved by the year 2020. That little line is the only time you see a numerical reference in the text of SDG 14. And that's crazy to me. This is a very important formal document that was read and reviewed by the United Nations. It was enacted by the United Nations. It was okayed by the nations of the United Nations. And no one else saw fault with, like, that seems like a little vague. Like, they want to add some detail. Like, if I handed that into a teacher, I probably would have gotten comments back, like, need more detail.
Yeah.
Like, I would have gotten some comments back. That wouldn't have been an A paper or even a B paper. That might have been a C paper. So it's kind of interesting to think about
it.
I was going to say, you know, I really hate to say it, but is that your best work? I expected more from you. I'm like the disappointed mom. So, but it's difficult. As much as we can talk shop, like, I know how much work. I honestly, no, I don't. I know of maybe 1/3 of the work, and that seems like a lot that goes into a lot of work for the SDG. So it's just it's crazy sometimes.
Fun fact, did you know when we were at MCC 15 and we had, like, I don't know, some kind of rehearsal or something in one of the rooms, I found this huge, like, packet that was it was a draft of the agenda in its, like, really early stages, I think, and it had, like, copies.
That's so cool.
And I was like, whoa, this is kind of like a relic. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would take that.
I know.
I don't know if it would be like
regret, but yeah.
Oh my goodness. But
I don't know.
And then let's see. Boop, 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 boop. Do-do-do-do-do. And then I guess the last thing that I had, looking, and I'm talking like way forward. So in 11 months, the United Nations will be hosting a conference to support the implementation of SDG 14. So to conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, marine resources for sustainable development. This is a high-level UN conference. It's taking place in Fiji in June of 2017 to coincide with World Oceans Day. And it's co-hosted by the governments of Fiji and Sweden, along with the ambassador and permanent representative to Mauritius, which once again, sorry if I botched that name. So this is like a really big conference that's coming up. It's less than a year away, which like seems like a long time, but it's really not. I'm hoping to attend, which would be amazing. And it's going to be a lot of like meetings and talks about fulfilling SDG 14 and what does that mean, and marine protected areas. And it's going to be coinciding with World Oceans Day, which is a fantastic idea. And kind of talking about like the future that we want. So I'm very, very excited. Even if I do not get to go, I'm still so excited to see where this leaves us. I'm excited to see how much % we are at that time, because that is 11 months away. So there is a lot of room to kind of fulfill our 10% goal, maybe a little bit early, but I know I'm being very optimistic over here. So I'm very excited for that. And if I do get to go, like, I'm going to give like 10 by 2020 firsthand. Like, I will host, you can have this on film. I will try to host a global webinar from there back in 2017.
Oh my gosh. Like a live report?
I will do a live report. I will bring my computer to Fiji in all my jet lag glory, and I will do a report from Fiji for the SDG 14 conference if I get to go. So it's on recording film right now.
Something to strive for.
You can hold me to it.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. I was going to say that's my goal right now. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm very, 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 very excited.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
that's all I have. Questions, comments?
Yes.
Final
webinar? You did it. 9 webinars. You've covered
9 webinars.
Dozens of topics and issues, and shared also above a dozen amazing videos and resources. Like
that I don't own. That I do not own the videos.
Is that clear? Amazing job, Emily. This is bittersweet. I can't believe
Thank you.
It's been almost exactly a year since this all started.
Almost exactly a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Waiting for like my Facebook time hop to be like, a year ago today, I posted about the Global Oceans Campaign.
Yeah.
For that, I'm gonna share it onto the 10 by 20 funny page.
Got it. Yes, please do. That'd be awesome. But yeah, you did a phenomenal job. Like
Thank you.
You're great at hosting.
Props to you for answering my emails and my texts and my calls and my crazy. Making all of our global webinar graphics. They're beautiful. I love them. I have some of them actually framed in my room.
That's amazing.
I love them so much. So
oh my gosh.
Kudos to you. Yeah. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
People are like, wow, you're really great at that. I'm like, no, I'm not. It was not me.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, you're great. Like your energy carries through the screen so well, which is hard to do. Like it's hard to be engaging on a computer screen. So good job with that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I'm so excited for your NCC 16 presentation. I wish I could be there, but I'm so excited for all the delegates who get to meet you. Like they're in for a treat.
Follow me on Snapchat.
Really
I'm
good
going to be Snapchatting the whole thing.
You're like the Mama Oceans campaign leader. Your enthusiasm for like the next Oceans campaign leader is amazing. Like I can see you just like taking them under your wing and being like, let me just like offer you tips and stuff, which is great. Yeah.
I'm so excited to see everyone again. I'm so excited to meet the new Oceans campaign winner and anyone who applied for the campaign, because like they're going to be really important with kind of completing the next Oceans campaign. So
absolutely,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Okay, well, we will bring this to a close. I will end the recording and share it on YouTube. Fingers crossed it doesn't get taken down. But if it does, I'll edit it so that we can have the first part, which is amazing, where we had Abby and Leonard talk about MCC 16.
Yeah, that was great. You should try to like take some clips of that and put it into something.
Yeah,
like its own mini video.
Yeah, that was kind of unexpected and really great. I didn't realize how like heartfelt it was.
I like that. I love when things are unexpected and they go well.
Yes, ooh, the best, as opposed to the opposite. But yeah, all right.
Yeah,
well,
right.
Have a wonderful weekend. What day is it? Thursday.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Thursday.
I'm stopping the recording